Hello everyone, welcome to another edition of Dave's Daily Dive, where we take a look at what's been happening in markets, try to make some sense of it. Then, once we're done with that fun stuff, we take a look at Zacks Rank #1 strong buy stocks that are breaking out to the upside. Today we've got 4 such stocks, including Essent Group, Goal, Silver Bay Realty Trust, and Cemex. But first, let's take a look and see what's happened to the indexes. So yesterday, if you remember, we drew this big Fibonacci retracement level from the lows of November to the highs of March. So we've got this going for us. And remember that 23.6% retracement level was where stocks found support on March 27th. So again, today's action, ignore this last bar because that's already going on tomorrow pretty much because these are futures. But today's action got a little bit lower than yesterday's lows. Didn't quite get up to the high of yesterday's open, but overall was up on the day. Why did stocks do what they did today? Well, that is a much more loaded question, but let's just see last 24 hours what's taken place. A rally throughout the Globex session, a little sell-off at the open. This has been very typical of the market recently, where it'll sell off right at the open, try and lure people into selling it short, and then it comes higher. So it did come higher here, a bounce just above the VWAP, and then another bounce at the VWAP. Here it found some support, came higher, and then what happened here at about 12:35? We got some news out of Rex Tillerson, pretty much saying that, you know, okay, so last week we were talking about how Assad was the responsibility of Syria and we weren't going to get involved. And then now it sounded like maybe we're going to have to do something in regards to those chemical attacks that we saw on civilians. So a little bit of a reaction here in the market as the algos are trying to figure out how to price in World War III. I know I'm being a little bit cheeky with that, but you see what I mean. The market sold off and then into the close kind of retraced a little bit of that, and that's where we are. So really an uninspired market overall. Let's look and see what the tech stocks did with the tech-heavy NASDAQ intraday. Looks awful similar, doesn't it? Coming down, rallying, chopping around a little bit. But these guys actually took out the lows of earlier in the day before rallying higher into the close, which is here, and then, you know, throughout the rest of the session. So there's that in terms of the NASDAQ. Now, if we zoom out here on the NASDAQ a little bit, go back to the daily, you'll see it's been very nice, right? Just tipping right there near the highs. What about our friend the Russell with the small caps going big on the daily charts here? Again, we talked about it yesterday where stocks were coming under pressure and this was a little bit oversold, but it looked like we were coming towards the bottom end of the range, and in true Russell fashion, we've chopped back up through that range again. So basically these 1330s here on the Russell futures have been really tough to get under. The Russell's been trading above that since December. And even in late November, just, you know, once it rallied up, it kind of dipped just below for a few days and then was back off to the races. What happened with interest rates today? We're going to look at the 10-year futures here, and you can see 10-year futures sold off just a little bit, so rates ticked higher just a smidge. We still have this sort of trend line here across the tops. Several tops have been put in here. And nice little trend that's developing this way. Also, I'm pretty sure I could do the same here on the bottom. And again, you could see sort of this channel that the market is starting to develop here on the 10-year. So a little bit of chopping back and forth, but when you're right here at the precipice, all it takes is a little nudge for this to go forward. And obviously, if this breaks through the top end of the range, that is 10-year prices rallying. That would mean interest rates coming down on the 10-year. Again, not something we expected when the Fed was raising rates, so that tells you a little something. As far as the dollar goes, let's look at it versus the euro today. And again, uninspired, not much going on here with the euro. You can see this bar of volume here. So 106, 107s basically is where the euro has been chopping around in this level for an extended period of time. the market seems to be kind of bored with the euro. And if you looked intraday, I took a quick look at this today. And again, big dive in the overnight session, rallies up, doesn't quite get back to the highs, and then spends the rest of the day sort of trickling on down. So not a lot of great action there in the euro, meaning the dollar didn't move all that much either. One more thing I want to check in really quickly is crude, just because of the crazy day that crude had yesterday. And look at this, a crazy day again today. So with this huge sell-off here, I like to say this and point this out, that instruments, the stock market, whatever it is, they tend to take the stairs up and the elevator down. So that was certainly the case here. Elevator down on that index data here for crude, and then a little bit of a rally, a tepid rally, and then it's got stronger and stronger. But look, this was all overnight during the Asian session, and if you zoom into what actually happened here in the U.S., that's basically from here on when we were waking up. That's, from 50s to 80s, so a 30-cent range here on oil, and the vast majority of that being in a much tighter range, just 60 to 80s. So a whole lot of nada going on. There you can see where all that volume was in the high 60s there on oil. So not that exciting of a day unless you were long early, but if you're here in the U.S., we were basically too late to benefit from any of that. Okay, so now let's look at these stocks, because I do have a few to look at. Remember, I said Essent Group, or Essent Group. Somebody's going to have to tell me how to properly pronounce this. It's Essent. I'm going to call it Essent because it's E-S-S-E-N-T. So these guys do private mortgage insurance and reinsurance for mortgages secured by residential properties in the U.S. They happen to be based out in Bermuda, I guess. So if you want to check out the corporate headquarters, it's a beautiful place to be, I'm sure. And again, this is a stock that has been trucking here since the beginning of really June 2016, going from 19 all the way up to 36. So it's had a nice little run here, moving higher. And recently, you got lows here, sort of the 33 area, chop up above close to the 52-week highs at 38, and now it's retraced just a smidge here. Decent volume, 908,000 shares traded. That's Essent Group, ticker ESNT. Now you got gold. You think goals, you think soccer. You think soccer, you think Brazil. Or at least that's how my mind works, and that's how that should be working here. Also, this is an airlines out of Brazil. A little bit more volatility for you here. Have some. A huge run up here through 2016 into October, down at 27th. Then it sold off considerably, getting chopped more than in half. That is pretty brutal. Let's see what sort of fib this gave us, though. Maybe it was something that you could have traded off of, and not quite. Of course, maybe if I go back further, we could see the bottom end of this somewhere else, maybe here. Still not much in the way of fibs. Didn't really pay attention that time. But if we go here to the December low on through the recent high, again, you'll see not too much support from the fibs. So this one's kind of on its own island, I suppose. We do have the commodity channel index that went from oversold, crossed over the zero line, giving you a buy, and now it's stalling out just a little bit shy of these highs. I'd be a little concerned here. I think I'd be more comfortable buying a break of the $32 level versus getting on here, seeing that it's stalling a little bit, or you can wait for a retrace down to $24.75, somewhere around there. Probably a more comfortable place to get in. That was GOL Airlines, ticker GOL. Then we've got Silver Bay Realty Trust, ticker SBY. And again, these are all Zacks Rank #1 strong buy stocks that we have here. Silver Bay Realty Trust is focused on the acquisition, renovation, leasing, and management of single-family properties for rental income and long-term capital appreciation. So they were a newly formed Delaware company is what the details said here. And, did they get bought out here at 26? Something like that. I think this is something to investigate because you see this huge spike up here, and then we've been going sideways. Of course, I didn't see anything like that on the news feed, so we got to go ahead and check out this news feed here. And this is what I do, guys. If you ever have a question about a stock, something real easy you can do, here's a shameless plug for Zacks.com, because you go ahead and you just put in your ticker SBY, and you're going to get all sorts of fantastic information coming here about Silver Realty Trust. Now, we do know it's a Zacks Rank #1 strong buy, and when you see some of the news, there hasn't been really any recent news here. You have some news over here about them going ex-dividend tomorrow. Oh, that's nothing, right? So quarterly dividend. So really, this is just a realty trust, a REIT that's up here near the highs. It's just very strange to see this, boom, huge spike, and then it just kind of goes sideways. So when you see that on a chart, the first instinct you should have is, oh my gosh, they've been bought out. So this certainly warrants some more investigation. Now we're going to look at ticker CX, CEMEX. Again, Zacks Rank #1 strong buy. So these guys sell cement in materials in Mexico and internationally. So CEMEX, kind of a play on words, Mexican cement, right? Been a nice rally since the lows of July, pretty much doubled. We have this spike up here, yesterday's price action. That was a 52-week high. Retraced just a little bit just to catch its breath, but you see there's been a decent amount of volume here in the lower nines. You have a commodity channel index crossing up through the zero line earlier on, bouncing off the zero line. That's a pattern I love to play. Wait for the commodity channel index, go from 100 down to the zero line and bounce, and then I load the boat on something like that. So this looks decent. Could be a breakout to the upside here. I think I'd be more comfortable waiting just for it to get to 9, somewhere right around here, and then buying there, and then you could put your stops sub 840s. Okay, so thanks so much for hanging out with me here today on Dave's Daily Dive, and as always, make sure you're following me at Twitter at Bartosiak. Maybe I'll start tweeting these out. That makes a lot of sense, huh? So go ahead and check me out there. And as always, I'll be here for you every day with Dave's Daily Dive. Thanks, guys. Have a good one.